to our retired years if we spent it at no more than the rate that we saved it, and if the value of the money and property is sustained by the monetary system, which it is in mathematically perfected economy and mathematically perfected economy only. So this is a type of a free system which might have even many alternatives, where we could say, well, no, I want to work most of my life, therefore I'm only obligated to save far less because I'm going to be spending it in a lesser period of retirement. Or I might change my idea down the road, and we can provide flexible systems that, given a person gets to a certain point, having saved so much, then this is how much they should save over the next portion, given that that's going to leave so many years of retirement. It's all basic math. Whatever a country decides to do then, this is the only way of really truly protecting the people in this matter of what we call, it's a lie, of social security. Of course, if the securities markets, fail and all the money is invested in them, then we've lost it all, and we've lost it to charlatans and thieves. So the only protection is to keep this ourselves. Never let government put its hands on it. It's ours and ours alone. And it may be mandatory to save it, and it may be, optional, whatever a country intends to do. So now, given that that might be an aspect of what we want to implement, we can make that an aspect of determining creditworthiness. In fact, it would have to be made an aspect of determining creditworthiness in this common monetary foundry. So the common monetary, say we were on our way to Florida and we decided to buy a house in Kentucky, and when we got to Florida we decided to buy a house there too. After all, a $100,000 home with a 100-year lifespan is going to cost us $80 a month. So we might decide to buy 2 houses on a trip. And we take summer down there in Florida, and because that's what we do, we want a house. And we found this house in Kentucky on the way that we just couldn't pass on. Well, so the common monetary foundry is going to look at our income and whatever kind of retirement plan that we've decided to opt into, and it's going to look at our income, and it's going to say at this point it's just math to figure out, whether or not we can afford these additional payments and still be sustaining ourselves, making the payments we're already committed to, and save enough, as is the obligation of our opt-in retirement plan. So, given a green light, it simply authorizes the sale. We become the owner of the house in Kentucky. A few hours later, we're in Florida and we buy another house. Same process, another $80 a month charge. We own 3 houses now, considering our original house wherever we live up to the north. Well, so what is this common monetary foundry? It's simply this software that exists in a banking system with a few algorithms added to it, which is, for good software engineers, a few days' work, which accommodate whatever implementation of a retirement plan, further considerations in determining creditworthiness we as a people decide. So all the software is handling is the strict rules that we determine and agree upon, even with optional plans accommodating different philosophies and dispositions, so that we perform this simple matter of determining creditworthiness, certifying creditworthiness. Thereupon, the ownership is transferred immediately to us, and the accounts are automatically maintained instead of instead of getting a paycheck every Friday from which taxes are taken out of it. This isn't how we're taxed. We get a full paycheck, except we never even have to handle it physically. It's automatically deposited in our accounts. Our bills are automatically paid. No going to the mailbox, no opening envelopes, no writing checks, etc., etc. All of this is streamlined. And all the Common Monetary Foundry is doing is exercising our rights to mathematically perfected economy in a central location so that all of our commerce and interaction can be accounted for. So now, a further issue of implementation is currency, money. You know, we have different kinds of metal money and we have different denominations of paper bills. Well, in truth, the simplest implementation of mathematically perfected economy wouldn't even require a physical currency any longer. But I leave it to a country, because we must leave it to countries to decide, well, what are we going to do? You know, if we have this common monetary foundry, then we've got, you know, say, you know, we've got, you know, there's records of what we spend, and, you know, and although a country can make those records entirely private and criminalize any breach of that privacy, however it may, that's a further aspect of implementation, which is to be determined by the people of the country. And as we have stipulated in our mandate, to be affirmed by the people and periodically reaffirmed by the people, accounting and accommodating for any claim to individual sovereign rights. So now, in truth, we do not have to have a currency any longer. And what this means is that we could carry around the equivalent of a debit card. And the issue here is security. You know, what if our identity is stolen? Well, we have a signature. We can implement any kind of security measures people want. You could, for instance, protect yourself further by insisting on a thumbprint match, where you might roll your thumb on a little piece of glass as you go through the supermarket, and it proves, beside your signature, that you're Mike Montagne. You might just use the same methods we use now, a signature and ID. ID has to be shown, you know, for all transactions. We might further implement, you know, any other idea. For instance, we make an online purchase. Well, we have to confirm the purchase by email or some other process before our products are sent. So the email comes immediately to us. We get it in our box. We see it's a real purchase, and we confirm it. So there's all different kinds of things that we can do. And we can make these things optional to a person. A person can say, well, I don't want to have a retinal scan, and I don't want to have a thumbprint. You know, I just want my signature. Whatever the case may be, you can accommodate these old things. In other words, this software in the Common Monetary Foundry can look up Mike Montagne. It's going to make a transaction having to do with Mike Montagne, and it sees that his security preferences are no thumbprint, no retinal scan, signature only, electronic email confirmation. These are just Boolean properties stored in his personal records of how to maintain his account. And the software just performs all these things for us. So this is really all there is to implementation. It's a matter of deciding how we want to implement this principle of a proprietary determinate lifespan, as has been carefully defined to even apply to undepreciated materials such as gold. And as applies to potential means of determining depreciation. In the end, nonetheless, all these things are mathematic formulae of the most basic and simple kind, which within hours of deciding upon methods can be implemented in a real system. So largely this common monetary foundry exists at least as software in a data center or data centers, and secured by regular processes, replicated and backed up by regular processes. This is a generic operation in today's age. And if we want to implement paper currency, another material, whatever, we might have, for instance, automatic teller machines which are linked to the common monetary foundry instead of the bank. So we would have these things where people could remove cash if we decided to be, a cash-based society still. But the fact of the matter is, for most of us, there would be little advantage of that, and there would be far greater security in just carrying around a little debit card which connected us with our accounts so that we could conduct all of our commerce as we wished with the least cost or overhead. So for instance, where people wanted to optionally use cash, we might require that they pay for the publication of the paper, which is negligible, but still it's an additional cost which isn't rightfully imposed upon other people. So those are pretty much our issues. Proprietary determinant lifespan is pretty cut and dry, and as I explained the other day in my elaboration on a situation where gold might be used in the production of some industrial product. Obviously, it applies to houses which are desirable to other people. In the case of building a house which might not be desirable to anyone else, the proprietary determinant lifespan then becomes the time span over which we can be insured to pay for it. So that's a simple matter as well. And as I've explained, the mandate provides this default method of what I've called de-escalated depreciation, which is a method that nobody seems to have had any objection to, of more or less fairly dramatically de-escalating rate of payment over whatever the proprietary determinant lifespan is. That results in further insurance that there is no loss in the system and that the lifespans of the things we produced are consumed, therefore without waste. So a de-escalated rate of depreciation is highly conducive to our purposes, particularly because it reflects the perceived diminishment of the value of property over its lifespan. In the end, then, our